So we're back with another episode of my ideal Elder Scrolls game. This is part 3. In part 1, I gave a general preamble of the overview of what these series of this visual essay was going to be. Part 2, I talked about what the overall plot I would like to see in the Elder Scrolls game, while satisfying, general customers. And in part 3, I'm going to go over how I would like the gameplay systems to be. So, general leveling, etc., etc. So, without much ado, let's get into it after the cut. So, here's my idea. So, the big thing about the Elder Scrolls series under Todd Howard is his design philosophy has been stripping out RPG gameplay mechanics under the code name of streamlining. And so the Elder Scrolls series has gone from being an RPG with action elements to being an action game with RPG elements. Very few RPG elements. Which, to me, I don't find to be very enjoyable. Like, I would not want to play a vanilla Elder Scrolls game with Todd Howard as the director, because they're overly simplified. So, here's my idea to make the Elder Scrolls game that would be a little bit on the more enjoyable side for me as a gamer. So, first of all, in this segment, I'm going to be talking about general gameplay and character progression. So, the general gameplay and character progression would work like this. Bring back classes and skills, okay? So, for example, let's say, for example, you choose to be a warrior class. The warrior class is to be, classes would be divided into templates. So a template would basically be kind of like an overview of classes within that template. So you'd have the warrior template, the magic user template, and then the rogue template. Okay. Within that template would be a variety of mixes between those things. So a shadow blade would be a magic using thief / assassin. So that would be under the rogue template. A spell blade would be a magic using a sword, a warrior who uses magic. So that would be under the magic template, but more melee based in touch spells and insort and enchanted blades, that type of thing. Build. Or you could have a pure thing. Or, of course, we'll have the quintessential custom class, which would basically take aspects from all 3 general overview templates in order to create your own class. Each class would have certain skills that are the hallmark of that class, your major skills, your primary skills, etc., etc. So you have your major skills, your primary, your major skills, your minor skills, your utility skills, and then finally your just general skills. So you're not exactly good at using it, but it's there. And how you essentially utilize these skills would determine how you level up. So we're going back to old school. But unlike the kind of stupid and asinine leveling system that you had in Morrowind and Oblivion, where you were punished if you leveled up your main skills, skills would work like this. There would be a perk system, but you wouldn't just gain perks just from leveling up. So how effective a ability is would be based on how skilled you are at it versus having a perk associated with that. Because perks just seem a little too on the nose. And some skills you couldn't learn even if you leveled up enough. You'd have to learn it by going on a type of mastery quest about that. So you, even if your blacksmithing skill, etc., was level 100, you wouldn't be able to use any of those mastery skills until you have been officially acknowledged by the game as being a blacksmithing master. And how would that work? You would have to create a master level series of armor. That would be your master class. Same thing with being a mastery of destruction. You'd have to create a master level destruction spell. So basically, those skills would synergize with one another. But you could also, the only penalty you would have from raising skills is that your major skills would level up a little bit quicker because you'd basically be geared out towards that. Your minor skills would level up a little bit, not quite as quick as your major skills, but it'd be up there. But then you'd have your general skills, which are basically kind of like, skills that you can use, you can level up, but you aren't like ultra good at it. But you can level them up and you can have training. And sometimes it might be useful for you to actually spend time and energy leveling up those other skills. So with that being said, character progression, and this is where, Skyrim kind of got an F. Instead of having you gain upgrades and character upgrades through perks or them being given to you, you would have to earn your skills and abilities. So in part 2, I talked about how I would like the story to be you are a new creation that came about by an Aedra and a Daedra combining their abilities. So you getting a plane of oblivion and people following you, you would have to earn that. And the skills and abilities associated with that would literally be earned through completing side quests and gameplay. It's not something you would just get. You would have to, you'd have to solve problems for your followers. You'd have to deal with invasions from other planes. That type of shit. And that could be cool. In my humble opinion. It definitely would add some depth and complexity to it, and it would be earned. Same thing with becoming, as I said earlier, a magic user, or a blacksmith, or, anything really. Like, it wouldn't just be, oh, you leveled up these skills, so you're a magician, you're a master level magician. No, you'd have to earn that shit. The old-fashioned way, by, doing things that actually contributing to that statement. So that's my own personal view on that. So in the next part of this video, I will talk about some factional side quests and how those would actually lead into your primary skills. After the cut. Okay, so I would like to see in my ideal Elder Scrolls game, I would like to see character progression tied into factional side quests, or just character side quests. So, for example, depending on which template you create or custom class you create. So, if you create a custom class that's like a hybrid between magic user and melee user, then you would have to join you would have to join a melee faction and a magic faction and master both of those in order to master that class. And basically complete the quest lines in those classes, and maybe have like radiant quests given because of the nature of your custom class. I think that could work. I think that would be very, very useful. For example, let's say you are a assassin. You decide to be, I'm going to be an assassin. Well, guess what? As an assassin, you would have to join either the Dark Brotherhood or the Morag Tong in order to become good at being an assassin. Yeah, you probably have your skills go up to a certain point, just from randomly murdering people, sneaking around and murdering people. But, I mean, let's say there's a skill associated directly with assassination called Assassinate, right? And that enables you to one-shot enemies. Well, I mean, you'd actually have to have training with that. It's not something you would get unless you want to become a serial killer. And if you're just going around and randomly murdering the shit out of people in the game, eventually one of those two major assassins guilds will come after your ass because you're cutting into their business and, you know, causing attention to people being murdered at random. So that could kind of equal an Elder Scrolls thing going on there. You know, character progression being directly connected to magic, to factional side quests. So, in the next section, I will talk about something near and dear to my heart, and that is how magic needs to be better in these games. So, without that, I'll get into it after the cut. So, magic in the Elder Scrolls series has kind of been hit or miss. Oblivion's magic was actually pretty good. Magic in Morrowind was kind of Magic in Daggerfall was The original Magic, like it's kind of wavered depending on subjective opinions of people who play the games. Skyrim's magic looks flashy, but it's actually kind of shit once you reach around level 40 with adaptive enemy difficulty. Unless you're playing it on easy, then magic is pretty much badass the entire time, but most of the time it kind of sucks. So here's my idea to make magic useful. Bring back the different magical schools. I know, a lot of magic was kind of combined together, but that's kind of stupid. So, there's enchantment. So you have enchanting, you have destruction, which is like elemental magic and fireballs and shit. But you should also have non-elemental destruction magic, like force ray, magic bolt, that type of shit. Push, stuff like that. Then you would have conjuring. Now, conjuring would be separated from summoning. Okay? Alright? Conjuring would be shit like, okay, I have used conjuring in order to create a astral sword, or conjuring to create a, magical armor, conjuring to summon an animal familiar, or some shit like that. Summoning would be you summoning Daedra, or summoning magical creatures from other planes of existence. That's a completely different thing from conjuring things that already exist. You're just bringing them to you. A slight distinction, but I think they should be separate. Also, I would like to see enchantment to actually, instead of just being putting magical spells onto a weapon, so that stuff like that, you should also be able to instant enchant a weapon with elemental powers, depending on which it would be. The ability to enchant a weapon would be based upon your enchanting skills, but what you can enchant on it should also be based upon what other magics you've learned. So enchanting by itself is useless. Enchanting mixed with destruction magic would be really useful. Or alteration, where you can do things like spells to turn yourself invisible, or spells to make yourself unnoticeable, which is different from invisibility. Spells to make yourself tougher, or increase your physical strength, or your speed. That's alteration. Or others, to make a character weaker, or stronger, or whatever. That type of shit, in my opinion, could definitely make the magic side of things better. As far as magical spells go, I think enchantment should also let you create magical items per Daggerfall or Morrowind, where you can basically enchant a magical item to cast magic spells. But depending on your level of mastery, you know, like if you're low level, you might be able to create a magical ring that lets you shoot a fireball 5 times. Which, you know, might be useful, you know, in a tough fight. It's like, well, shit, I need something to give me an edge. But, you know, if you're fighting tougher enemies, you know, if you have a higher skill level, you can create some really wondrous stuff, and you can sell it for money. So Magic needs to be overhauled, in my opinion, for the Elder Scrolls series to actually start having good magic again, because the magic kind of sucks right now. So that being said, let's keep it moving to the might portion of it, in which how I would basically do the martial skills. After cut. So basically, magic might the combat skills have been overly simplified in Skyrim. So I would say go back to what you had in Morrowind and Daggerfall, where you had more combat skills. So you had small blades, which are like daggers and like knives and shit like that. Then you had long blades, which were you know, swords. You know, long swords, sabers, shit like that. Then I would add a third type of thing called big swords, big weapons, which would be two-handers, like two-handed axes, two-handed hammers, shit like that. I would do small arms, long arms, and then I would do big, you know, two-handed weapons. I would have 3 different skills associated with that because they're different. Like the skills that you would use with a dagger are very different from the skills you would use with a sword, with a saber. They're all very different from one another. It's not the same thing, and it's kind of disingenuous to treat them as if they were the same. So with that being said, I would like to see those things go up. And as your skill goes up with those particular, as you become more skilled in those skills, I would like to see a, you know, you get access to perks like dual wielding and stuff like that. So, you know, if you master, you know, two-handed weapons, the mastery of that would be you can one-hand a two-handed weapon. So if you master two-handed weapons and then you master long weapons, so like long swords, sabers, steel swords, you know, still one-handed swords, you would be able to dual wield two-handed weapons if you master those two things, becoming a very powerful warrior indeed. I think that would be a very useful way to essentially have the to have these things kind of come together in a useful and meaningful way. So yeah, I would like to see that thing. I would like to see my ideal Elder Scrolls game have those types of things going on. Next, I will go over how to make the utilitarian skills like alchemy, speech, mercantile, stuff like that be useful in game. After the cut. So here are my utility skills that I would like to see in an Elder Scrolls game. The thing is that most utility skills in Elder Scrolls games are fucking useless, especially in Skyrim, or at least have a very minimal use. Like your speech skill is only used for certain speech checks. I would like to see utility skills actually get upgraded and be more useful. So here's the way I could see that happening. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, you decide to become a merchant. That is a utility class, okay? So you're not going to be good at fighting. You might have some basic skills with a knife or a hand crossbow or some shit like that, but you're not like running into battle slicing and dicing people. But you do have speechcraft and money skills. So if you're playing as that class, you wouldn't be fighting personally, but you could hire people to fight for you. You could, hire 2 or 3 people as, your combat people who you can send to take care of business. And that could be a viable class. Or even better, you could create a custom class where speech skill is important because you can inspire your allies and get them to fight longer and harder and get boosts to their combat abilities. So that could actually be a viable method of combat, right? And a viable class. So basically, being diplomatic could be a useful skill. It's like I'm not going to fight anyone, but I can talk these people out of it. You can talk people down out of fighting, or talk people into joining your side against another side, and get kick ass with it. So my point behind all of this is to say this: utility skills should have use. Like if you're an alchemist. Alchemy should have a use in combat besides just, you make potions that'll heal or poison people. You should be able to make explosive poisons or acid flasks that you can throw at motherfuckers and blow their asses up, Or you can drink a potion that'll temporarily give you the abilities of a Daedra or some shit. Stuff like that could be really useful. To make different classes useful instead of just, you're either, like, it's going to devolve into you're going to be a stealth guy shooting people with arrows, sneaking around, occasionally using magic. I mean, that gets really old really quickly. So, the next and final segment will be me talking about leveling. The leveling system, how we would like it handled, like how you level up, and that's it. And then we'll wrap things up. So, instead of your levels being based upon you gaining skill points and gaining levels and skills, and then that leads to you leveling up, I think they should be 2 separate things. I think your skills should be your skills leveling up just means your efficiency with that skill goes up. However, in order for you to increase your hard stats, i.e. your strength, your stamina, how much magic you have available, that should be based upon instead you gaining experiences from doing things. So, for example, let's say you are a merchant. You buying and selling shit would give you experience. Let's say you're playing a more diplomatic class. You talking to people and using, passing diplomacy checks would give you bonuses. That would give you experience. Do that enough, and you level up, and you can make those stats go up. I think magic stamina, and health should be associated with stats. And those stats you increase, they go up. So your endurance would be stamina and health. Your strength would be would be how much health you take and how much damage you can do. And intelligence and wisdom would be your magic, and would be how much magic power you have and how much damage you do with your magic. So the leveling up needs to be overhauled, and I just gave a brief description of how I'd like it done better. Next, conclusion and a tease for part 4. So here's my conclusion. My idea Elder Scrolls game would utilize these tactics and bring more RPG elements to the game, and make different builds viable for in-game instead of just, it's all just killing people, because sometimes people want to do things differently. In the next segment, I will talk about side quests and DLC, and that'll be part 4. So without much ado, if you want to reach the channel, you can reach me at mrredfoxbsbusters@gmail.com, or on Twitter at mrredfox91, or there's a link to the Discord in the comment section. Peace and have a good day.